Welcome back to the PDR Coach Podcast. Today on the episode, we have Mr. Dave Schaulat. He is a tech out of Arizona currently, who runs a wholesale retail route, just like myself. He's a big proponent of the idea that wholesale is not dead. And you've probably heard him talk about that other places. He had a long career with Dent Wizard before he moved his family to Arizona. And Dave can tell some amazing PDR stories for hours, and hopefully we get to hear just a few of them today. I know this because when I was in Arizona in January of 2020, I Facebook messaged Dave and said, "Hey, never met you. I'm a tech out of Northern California. Can we meet up for a drink and hang out?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And we met and we talked for, I don't know, several hours. That's the kind of guy that Dave is, always willing to give and share and tell his stories. And I think since then we've become friends. So welcome to the show, Dave.
Hi, Corey. How are you?
Great. Never better, man. Happy to have you here.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
So let's start at the beginning. You know, you've been doing PDR for like at least 5 years or so. It goes way back. But how did you find this? How did you find this weird little PDR niche we're in? And what year did you actually start?
I was 20 years old, Corey. So that was 5 years ago.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm 25 again for the 25th year. And it was the year was 1991, and I was working for my family business in the plumbing trade, and a lot of old school guys will remember this name, and you'll know the name of the company out in California currently, Dentology. And Darren St. Ivney and his partner Jim Parad started that company after they had finished their time with Dent Wizard, so to speak. Darren St. Ivney was a plumber by trade, and so was his father in the area where I grew up close to St. Louis. Darren's sister had been married to a gentleman named Clay Smith in Dent Wizard, and Clay was their regional or national account manager. And so that was kind of my that's the short version of the story. That was my in to Dent Wizard. And so Darren's father, John St. Ivney, the plumber, contractor, was buying from my father, the plumber supplier, and knew at 20 years old that I was looking to maybe make a change and kind of find myself and discover something new. Cool. Darren had already gone through training in Dent Wizard and had moved out to Los Angeles and began working and had pretty good success quickly. And so John thought I might be a good fit, meaning Darren's father, and put me in touch with the local St. Louis franchise owner. And that kind of parlayed into me being a corporate technician for Dent Wizard because there were some issues, and it's not my business to spread those rumors, but there were a couple issues, some growing pains, let's say, early on in Dent Wizard back then with the franchise owners and Lido, who was the owner of the company, and so on and so forth. So it was late 1991 that I was hired on and went through training. Matter of fact, it crossed over into early 92, but that began my career with Dent Wizard.
Man, that's awesome. So way back then, that's actually the same time people that listen to my podcast regularly know my dad started Dent Pro on the West Coast in 1991. I just got off the recording with Don Kavanaugh. I guess you guys talked about that we were both recording the same day. And he was like 89, 90, kind of started right around that same time too. So this is this is the beginning.
With Jürgen.
Yeah, with Jürgen. Yeah, directly trained from Jürgen from Germany. This is like the beginnings of PDR, really, right?
Certainly North American PDR.
North American PDR, sure. Yeah.
You know, without question. And a couple, there were a couple other old school guys that had started as well, that have been around a long time. And,
there was guys all over in the 90s. There was another guy in Sacramento in 1990, 91 named Jim Hapgood. I'm sure there was guys sprinkled all throughout the U.S. in every state that started all around 90-91, but had no way to communicate that to all the other Dent guys because it was such a tiny little niche.
Right. And it was very secretive. Each company, they were all very, very closely guarded and close to the chest.
Sure.
They really wanted us not to let anyone watch when we first started.
That was coming from Dent Wizard, you're saying? Like Dent Wizard
that was coming from Dent Wizard, but that was pretty much everyone. I mean, even Jürgen would pull cars to the back, and I'm sure Jim Hapgood did. I know
he did.
Boy, Mark Paletta did,
Mhm.
Jim Kraft, a lot of these early guys, I know.
Did you do
Uh,
that?
yes, we were. It was kind of part of
What was
our
the
employment agreement.
purpose? Because
The,
you figured people could see you do it and then just learn how to do it quickly?
everybody thought. So it was kind of this guarded trade secret, so to
Yeah.
speak, right, or an
Yeah.
uh, industry knowledge,
And what was the
and
secret? Like get a metal tool on the back and push on it? That was the
get a
secret
metal
you were
rod
hiding?
and push out some metal. The secret was to bend some metal and make it look different.
That's okay. Got it.
Um,
Okay.
but Dent Wizard had this. They had this formula, right, and this building block, and this plan, and this structure, which and other franchises did too, whether it was Dent Pro or
Yeah.
Mended Dent or Dents or Us or whatever it is. Every Dent book, every Dent name under the sun, and but they had this building block where they wanted to make sure that trade secret was kept that way, so that they had market I don't want to call it
Dominance.
privilege, but they had prominence and eventually dominance is kind of what they were going for. But
Yeah.
whether or not that was achieved is not my place to judge. But it was a guarded secret, and it was part of our employment agreement, because then we also were entered into a non-compete and a non-disclosure agreement. So it was all very structured, right, which was good
Yeah.
for building and growing, and they did very quickly,
Sure.
exponentially grow in a rapid pace.
Absolutely. Yeah. Much faster than most. My dad started in 91 and by 2000 had maybe, 3 guys working for him. And Dent Wizard had hundreds.
Right.
Um, so yeah, Dent Wizard. I mean, some people feel good about Dent Wizard. Some people feel bad. Some people feel indifferent. Everyone gets to have their own opinion. You were a big part of Dent Wizard and you talk really highly of them, which is great. I mean, I'm of the mindset that people will talk about, Amazon.com changing the way we do business and crushing small business and all that stuff. But I think what's interesting is that there are tens of thousands or potentially even millions of people that own a small business that sell through Amazon. So in some
Sure.
way, Amazon has created an opportunity for other small businesses to create, to have a livelihood, right? And in some way, Dent Wizard too. Like Dent Wizard has created a lot of PDR technicians, right? Without maybe Dent Wizard training so many people, we would be in a position where we have way less technicians. So it's not like Dent Wizard is this big, bad, scary company that has technicians that don't do good work. Maybe in your area that's true, but there's tons of phenomenal Dent Wizard technicians, or whether they're currently at Dent Wizard or came from Dent Wizard or whatever. So you worked there for a long time and ended up, I guess, moving up through the ranks, and you did some overseas stuff and some big jobs for Dent Wizard. Do you have any fun stories you can share with us from those times? Not all of
Yeah.
them.
Okay. All right. I've got two. I've got two that I'll tell you. One was
Okay.
about the living living quarters that I was under, and one is a great story that a lot of technicians and some Hale guys here in North America know. And I'll start with that. So I still act like I'm part of the company from time to time. Back then it was Dent Wizard, and Mannheim at that point owned Dent Wizard, meaning Mannheim Auto Auctions.
Mm.
And Mannheim had made an acquisition of a vehicle reconditioning company based in the UK that had full reach throughout Europe, and that was called Dent Masters. And they had a paint division called Flying Colors, for bumper repair, wheel repair. Wasn't quite prevalent yet, but wasn't far off. But Mannheim wanted to have this technology partner in Europe that kind of mirrored what was being done in North America at the auction level. And so they made this acquisition and handed it to Dent Wizard to run that company essentially. And I was fortunate enough to have a passport, and it was valid, and that was pretty much the requirement that was asked of me from the regional vice president. So fast forward a little bit. There was a lot of hail and catastrophe things done, and some manufacturer relationships that we had along the way. And that parlayed into Volvo calling and asking us if we could help with a particular issue they had on their Volvo S60 model. Now, this is just
Out of
about
manufacturing, right?
out of manufacturing.
Yeah.
I'll explain it. So this was somewhere around 2000. Let's call it 2000, maybe late 99, doesn't matter. And I flew over to essentially to Sweden to their stamping factory. And what you actually do is you fly into Copenhagen, Denmark, and then you take a 2-hour taxi ride over to the stamping factory. And Volvo owns the entire town, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just this small town in south central Sweden. And Volvo, if you don't work for Volvo, you work for a subsidiary of Volvo. And if not, then you either work at the hotel or the pizza joint that provides, the accommodation for people that visit the stamping factory or need to eat. Yeah. So, I'm telling you, Volvo owns that town. So I get over there and they're having an issue, and there's a small dent in the top front corner of the left rear door, if that makes sense.
The corner closest to the driver door?
The corner closest to the driver's door,
okay, so a tough spot, yeah.
Right at the window, right at the window.
Mm-hmm.
Tough spot, but wide open because the bracing wasn't all completely there yet.
Sure.
We were dealing with bare metal shell, essentially a door shell, and they came in these big, huge racks for delivery to the assembly plants.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like 32 doors per rack, right? You need a forklift to move these racks. That job turned into a 3-year work contract for us.
Wow.
That was just one of the most lucrative things going, right? And it wasn't the most expensive per panel deal, but the technicians got paid well. You had a 12-hour shift. And because of their kind of just-in-time assembly and delivery and parts and manufacturing piece, it was a 24-hour a day deal. Yeah. The factory couldn't afford to shut down the stamping plant because of the far-reaching implications down the line where assembly and paint and vehicle delivery and all of that would be affected. And internally, Volvo had fines that they would impose upon themselves if they couldn't get the product between divisions or departments, so to speak.
Wow.
And so it was less expensive to contract us out for 3 years than it was to shut down and try to retool the die or control the speed of the die or whatever the issue was.
Whatever was going on, they didn't even know the issue, so they didn't even
whatever was going on. Yeah,
figure out how to solve it and then solve it and just mess up the whole entire supply chain.
Right.
So that's pretty cool.
The unique challenge was trying to figure out how to do this on bare metal and get that sheen that we all count on, from the clear coat or from the the reflection we get, right?
Yeah.
And so we ended up using some compound or chemical that they had that created a sheen on the panel for a long enough period of time for us to get a reflection and fix the dent.
Nice.
But then it would dissipate and then would not interfere down the road during assembly and painting, right?
Perfect. That's pretty
so
cool. That's quite an experience, man. Like overseas and you lived over there. At that time you were what, late 20s or young 30s or something around that time?
I've been 25 the whole time. Didn't we?
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So I would have been mid to late 20s, give or take.
And you lived out there for 3 years?
I had residency and a work permit and resided and had a UK base and address for what that's worth for 3 years. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's quite an experience.
It was very, very cool. Now, it actually had started out, believe this or not, as a 6-week trip to help provide with some technical support and training.
Yeah.
And there was some scattered hail that had hit. One of the Honda manufacturing plants had been hit with hail right about that time. And so one of my assignments was going to be to help coordinate hail repair for Honda and also catch the vehicles that had already been distributed for sales to the dealership network. And that turned into, as we discovered, there were some issues, but notwithstanding, we took it on and did what needed to be done. But there were some issues with that acquisition that led to it being a longer assignment.
6 weeks turns into 3 years. That's a little longer.
6 weeks turns into 3 years. Yeah.
But quite a little longer. Only provided to you by Dent Wizard, which is pretty
tremendous.
Cool.
Tremendous. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you said sleeping quarters. Is that sleeping quarters?
Well,
on those Volvo cars or what?
No. This would have been a home that we rented, and we kind of think the place was haunted. And there were 3 of us that were the mainstay. A guy named Scott Blend, who is a phenomenal technician, and I last heard, and I don't know that he's fully retired, but he had KHS and Dent Wizard acquired them, and I don't know if he's fulfilled his obligation. Scott's been another long-standing technician of 30 plus years. He finished second in the Dent Olympics back before that was even fashionable. At MTE back in like 1996 96 or 98 or something,
That's
before anybody even really knew about it.
yeah.
You know, he was fantastic. So he and I and another guy named Mike Morrison, who ended up working with a company called CSI, who's now merged and done some things on the
Yeah.
Hale end of things.
Yeah.
The three of us had rented a house together in a little town called Nottingham, England. You know, you might know Nottingham and Sheriff of,
Sure.
you know, Sherwood
Yeah.
Forest and Little John, and that whole that area is it's real. I mean, it's a real place, right? The
Sure.
characters may be fictional from that story, you know, from our childhood, but there is a Sherwood Road, there is a Sherwood Forest. So we lived in Nottingham, which is central in the UK, and we had a house, and we really thought the house was haunted. And there was one night, and it was late, and the house was dark and quiet and pitch black. That was the one thing I really liked. You could really, you know, when your room's really dark in a hotel room, and
Yeah.
you just are like, I just want to stay in bed.
Yeah.
You know, you could get that feel if you wanted. But it was a beautifully appointed house. It was furnished. There's plenty of room for all of us. And one night there was a picture that fell off of my wall in my bedroom and scared the daylights out of me, because I was in this deep sleep because the room was so dark. And I jumped up and turned the lights on, and I grabbed the closest thing I could find, which was a candlestick off of the chest of drawers. And I swore, I figured somebody was in the house, right? I mean, it was that kind of noise that just, and you didn't quite know where it came from because you were asleep.
So
And you're
dark.
startled. And I'm like, all right, you know, we rented this place. It's mine to defend as well. So I jumped out in the hallway, you know, in my skivvies and my candlestick,
I can see that.
ready to swing and take somebody's head off. And the other two guys poked their head out of their bedroom doors and like, what the hell's going on?
Oh my gosh.
And
That's
it was
crazy.
this picture that had fallen off the wall, you know, but just, you know, absolutely scared the heck out of me.
Was this a dent related experience? You were there for some Dent Wizard doing?
That was one of the residences that
Gotcha.
I had
Gotcha.
during that period of time.
Gotcha. Okay.
You
So-
know, the hotel piece got a little expensive and a little old, but
Yeah, I bet.
you know, it was a necessity as well, though, because I was that 3-year period. I'm not bragging. I was on an airplane once every 4 days on average. It was insane.
That's
the
a
amount
lot.
of travel. Yeah, it was absolutely insane. But again, a tremendous experience, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks
No doubt about
thanks to Dent Wizard and
it.
Mannheim, and you know, and again, I have a lot of I have a lot of good memories. There were days that weren't so good, you know, and a lot of guys will tell you stories, like you said earlier, both sides of it, you know, that. But I really think, like you said, without them, I think we'd still be, you know, evolving a little bit more in the industry,
Further back in the stone ages of our industry for sure.
right?
Yeah. So that's a couple stories from your 20, 25 year Dent Wizard career, from basically when you were birth till 25 years old, basically.
Birth till 25.
Yeah, birth till 25. So, I don't know if you can answer this quickly or if you feel like you want to or whatever, but just to put it in context, what does Dent Wizard do right? That's great. And what is something that they can improve on, to maybe, that from your perspective, now that you're outside of them, and something you feel comfortable saying that they can do to maybe improve on what they're doing for our industry? You got answers to those?
Well, I think their training is still pretty solid in terms of dent repair. Now, they're offering training obviously for wheel repair. They've expanded into so many industries.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the keys, locksmithing, the wheel repair, the paint repair. You know, they're selling some additional products. There are a couple of mergers they've had recently now with Dealer Tire that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
But you know, their training, their core training is very good. Fundamentally, it's very good training. You know, and we all talk about how training is advanced and it's easier for the newer, you know, generation, the young guys now to come in, because reflection techniques have improved. Our ability to explain, our experience level has grown so that we can convey that information because we're no longer having to invent it, right?
Yeah, sure.
And so that ability, you know, these guys that are coming through training classes now, and whether it's Dent Wizard or if it's Mike Toledo or Mike Seawald or, you know, whomever, or going to advance with Bryce or whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
You know, the training piece, I think, has always been a good staple for Dent Wizard, a good core and base. I think they lost a little continuity. I'm not even going to say think. I'm going to flat out say I know they lost continuity with their dent technicians as they expanded and grew into these other services,
Sure.
because they kind of neglected. And the dent guys, we're a rare breed. Dent guys took it a little personally, like, hey, you're abandoning us to go after the keys.
Yeah.
You're abandoning us to go after paints and wheels, and
name it.
what are you doing to keep growing the dent business? And the dent guys are the ones that put the company on the map, right?
It's called Dent
And
Wizard.
It's called Dent Wizard, right? Now, of course, it's a reconditioning company, but again, they wouldn't have grown without it. Smart repair, exactly. Yeah. But they wouldn't have grown had they not expanded, or certainly not grown as much had they not expanded and built upon those relationships that they had early on.
Right. Totally.
Right.
100%. Yeah.
So there's a little, they've lost some disconnect there. And I'll give credit to Kevin Beatty when he took the company over from Lido, and even Lido as well, because he was good at making you feel wanted. But Kevin Beatty, the former president who sold then to Dent Wizard, he and Vice President Terry Cabby and everybody under their leadership, really, I don't know how he made it around the country to so many Christmas parties year after year, to pat you on the back, to remember names, to make you feel good, right?
That's awesome.
And that kind of, that family feeling is long gone, but kudos to them for doing it for as long as they did.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, at some point when you grow to, I think they're at like 2,500 employees now, right? That family feels tough to maintain for sure.
Oh, you can't, who can remember 2,500 names?
Yeah, nobody.
Apart from that guy that you and I saw in that.
Oh yeah, the memory champion guy. 2,500 though. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah,
just gotta put all those names in Alice, and you'll be all right.
And here, look it. I can't even remember his name. Oh God.
People are like, "What are they talking about?" Okay, so that's like first 25 years, and now it's like into
first 25 years.
Dave Schaulat that people know, right? So at some point, you left Dent Wizard, packed up the family, moved to Arizona, became the wholesale guy, got on the Mobile Tech RX as that, right? All that stuff. So when did leaving Dent Wizard become a thing? Why did it happen? And why'd you move? Were you Chicago? Is that what it was?
Yes.
Moved across the entire country. Like, tell us how that thing happened. That whole life-changing experience.
The kinfolk said, Jed, move away from there.
That's it.
Right? The Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah.
How did that happen? So my house got acquired for a highway project, and I had maximized on
eminent domain stuff.
I didn't get as far as eminent domain law. We took an early acquisition buyout, which is a little unwritten rule under federal guidelines.
Gotcha.
And I don't want to get into that because it's boring as all get out. And I had maximized my compensation structure, and I had held various positions.
Sure.
With my former employer, and I was at the auction, chasing car after car after car after car, and everybody thinks the auction gig's there's a misconception. Let me put it that way, between the majority of the country and the auction with the Ford rep in Chicago, because he is a customer that's concerned about quality. And if you're doing the Fords in Chicago, you better bring your A game, because he walks all the cars every 2 weeks after the repairs are done, whether it's body shop or PDR or whatever, excuse me, and demands high quality. So the premise of an auction tech and the things you see on the dealer lot and so on being hacked up was not the case, certainly in Chicago, right? I've been to those auctions where it is the case, again, over my time. Well, no drilling at the auction level with the manufacturers.
Okay, yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Nice. But put a tool in it and bill it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, make it like lumpy oatmeal and move on, right?
There you go, yeah.
And so that's one thing. But I was there. I'll call it fat, dumb, and happy, because I had 40 to 60 cars a day being assigned to be worked on. So I had plenty of work.
Yeah. And
it just kind of, I enjoyed it. I really did. I could work as long as I wanted, but the time had come, and our home getting acquired was kind of that linchpin.
Yeah.
To make that move. And then I had a couple of people that I knew in the Phoenix area that had transferred out here. They had a big hailstorm here in 2010, which I was not able to come and join or help anyone, because I was still in the Midwest, and I had plenty of hail and other things coming through the auction, and my affiliation with the rental industry as well, and that time in one area like that. And so I didn't make it out to Phoenix for the 2010 hailstorm, but stayed in contact with a couple people that I knew, and that was kind of the linchpin. So the house got acquired. I'd maxed out with Dent Wizard and just thought, hey, I've been here 23 years. I've got my gold watch. Thank you. It's been a great run.
Do
Peace.
something different.
I'm done. Let's do something different.
That's crazy.
And my wife,
what year was it?
This was 2015.
Okay, yeah. So 5-6 years
So
ago.
this was a lengthy plan because this housing acquisition took a while. There was some issues with the engineering piece, and they regrouped. So we knew for a while that we'd be leaving. But essentially, January of 2015, I gave my notice at the towards the end of December, and I think I worked the last week or 10 days of January or something for the company.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to make it a clean break at January 1st, but it didn't. Timing just didn't quite work out that way.
Yeah, for sure.
With closing on my new house out here. But that was 2015, and that's how it came to be. And then I got in touch, and Vince D'Alessandro.
Yeah.
I got in touch with Vince on Facebook. I can't even remember how it came about, but I finally had kind of given some time and significance to Facebook, going, hey, wow, this is probably a pretty vital piece of information, communication, social media technology thing.
Yeah, sure.
What is this book of faces, right? But like I didn't pay attention to it because we were remodeling our house, and then when we stopped remodeling, knowing that we are going to be acquired, my desires and directions were in a different place than they were, when I moved. And then now I've got this great data plan in Phoenix now, and I can do whatever I want and look on Facebook, and and just kind of took a breath, right, and did a few things for myself.
Yeah. So to bring it back to, like, you go from Chicago to Arizona, and you've never lived in Arizona. You don't have dealer contacts or people contacts in Arizona. You're pretty much starting fresh, right?
Absolutely.
So for the guys that are either, starting a new business or moving to a different area or all that stuff, I mean, granted, you probably had a little bit of a luxury of, like, you had two nickels to rub together, and you didn't have to make money tomorrow. But, like, what do you do first, right? You move to a new area, you just start your business, right? You legitimize your business, you got your business name and your truck and everything. Like, day one, you got nothing to fix. No one's calling you for dent repair like they were. You didn't have 40 to 60 cars lined up. Where do you go? What do you do?
You treat yourself for breakfast.
And like you go
to IHOP.
That's first things first. Gather your thoughts. Okay, get some pancakes.
All right. Yeah. You gotta be prepared and have a full belly.
If you know Dave, you know that he loves his lunches and breakfast.
What's the first thing you do?
What do you do?
What do you do? You go and you get your nose broken by that door slamming on your face, right on your, slamming closed.
Yeah, over and over.
Whomever you're going to pursue for your business, right? And I'll circle back with my Facebook story, but I literally regrouped. I spent 90 days working for a guy out here. I'll give you that much.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it didn't work out the way that I had thought. And that's when I regrouped and put everything together, like you said, and, got my shirts, got my truck, got my business cards. Now what? Okay. Now what?
That's the easy stuff.
Yeah. And over those 90 days, I pretty much only went to one or two locations, including this guy's retail facility that is no longer. And maybe
don't try to look him up. Don't try to figure out who it is.
And a dealer or two here, right? I didn't know my way around geographically. Okay, yeah. That was a big one. I hadn't done any of that old school kind of, you used to be able to get like those Dun and Bradstreet printouts, right? Or those marketing things with what businesses are, located where and what their sales volume and all of that, right? Those kind of direct marketing ads and stuff. I didn't have anything, right? I mean, I had a set of wheels, and so I drove around. I did a little research on the internet to see, what kind of franchise dealer locations there were. I wanted to draw a line geographically, so I didn't chase myself all over, because Phoenix is geographically a very, very big market.
Yeah.
You don't think about it and just last year we surpassed, I think, Philadelphia for the now the fifth largest, if I'm not mistaken, the fifth largest area in the country in
Nice.
terms of population, right? And
Yeah.
but with that comes this spread out footprint, right?
Mhm.
So it's a big area. And I drove and looked and just made some notes and said, okay, the Honda store here at 7th and Bell. Okay. Next to it, right down the road, the Kia store. Okay. A little farther down, another Toyota store, a Ford store. Okay. So there's a segment here of automotive.
Auto mall or something type of thing.
Right. There's a segment here of automotive industry. Okay. Where else? Okay. There's a segment here. And so I made these notes, and then I slowly went back and canvassed the area. May have talked to a salesperson or two before I actually went in. May have looked online to capture information to find out who the management was, who I wanted to speak to. So I didn't walk in not knowing names or not knowing who to speak to or who to ask for.
That's a big tip right there. That's a big tip, especially now.
Right?
Like you can go right online, go to the dealer website, and look at like about us or contact us or some shit like that.
Have their staff, their staff
a picture of their face.
Yeah.
They might be.
You know who you're looking for.
They might be 5 years younger in that picture, but the picture of their face, their name, their position, how long they've been there, a little bio of them. So it's easy to go prepared.
It's very easy to prepare, right? And that's kind of one of my things I'm focusing on this year is kind of a preparedness message, so to speak. But
nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but again, like life in general, you just don't know what you're going to get. Forrest Gump said it best: you don't know what's in that box of chocolates. And you need to be prepared in all things, certainly dent repair, certainly if you're starting your business, right?
Yeah.
And so I started knocking on doors, and there were some places I didn't go in with that information. Yeah. And some places I did, and I did capture that information and say, hey, I need to talk to Corey over here at Kleinfeld Motors, right?
Yeah.
And know that that's the right contact. Yep. And I then started knocking on doors and got used to hearing the word no.
Yeah.
And I got a pretty thick skin, but it really took its toll on me mentally. And I don't like to admit that because I like to think I'm this tough brass car guy, which but I'm not. It took a toll mentally on me where I was second guessing.
Well, you're still human.
What I'd done.
I mean, you're still human.
Of course.
Yeah, you're still like a person, and you get told no too many times. It's like, God dang it. Why did I you said, started to question, like, why did I pack up my family, move to Phoenix? Right. Like, what did I do?
Did I make the wrong choice? Right.
Sure. Yeah.
And the one thing in doing that, and this is, you can always learn, right? Every day you can learn something if you just pay attention.
Yeah.
And you know what I really learned and what it taught me, I learned that I had underestimated or kind of forgotten the fact that even though I had these travel assignments and things, so on, I had 21 years, let's call it about 21 years total time, with kind of a Chicago base, right? And the relationships and the people and those degrees of separation, so to speak, were fewer and farther. And especially working at the auction level where I knew the buyers, the owners of some of the dealerships, et cetera, the decision makers, there weren't too many people that I didn't meet or didn't know that at least we knew somebody else or had a mutual friend or something, right, in the business. And I underestimated that relationship piece when I moved out here.
Yeah, I mean, I can walk into a dealer now. Any dealer that I haven't been doing in 5 years, I'll walk in. I'll know somebody. I'll know somebody just because like he used to work at this dealer or this body shop or the paint supply or the whatever, right? And so you moved away from all of that, right, to brand new, and you understand.
And I'm just now getting back into that, right? Where over now I've been here now 6 years. In 6 years, yes, people have moved. The one thing I will say though about the Southwest, everybody's friendly. They told me no, but they were polite about it, and they gave me the time of day to at least speak to them. Right? Yeah. I didn't get booted immediately the way you would back in, say, Chicago or the Northeast, or hey, get out of here. We already got 10 dent guys.
Yeah.
I don't need your card too. None of that. Everybody was very friendly at least. So, at least it was a friendly goodbye.
For sure. Yeah, totally. Any tips?
It was a friendly no, thank you.
Yeah, no doubt. What do you think tips on at least you came into Phoenix with a skill, right? A confidence and a skill, like I can repair anything. And I know
put it in front of me. Yeah.
What's that? Put it in front of me. I'll fix it.
I can repair anything. Put it in front of me. But
so
I didn't have that relationship. I couldn't get those people to give me that chance. Right?
Sure. So you have that skill. So, I'm sure that you got a lot of work based off of that skill. Give me the shot. I'll show you it's possible. Right. Do you have any tips or any insight? Might have lost him for a second. You still there, bud?
Nope. I'm here.
Okay. Someone tried to call you.
Yep, sorry.
It's okay. We're all PDR guys. We're sitting in our trucks, right? He's a mobile guy. Most podcasts I record for other people, I'm sitting in my damn truck because I'm working. Any tips for people who are newer, so they don't have relationships, or they can't look at people and say, give me a car, I'll fix it, right? Where do they start? What do you think on that?
I think they need to say, I'm going to provide you, if you give me the opportunity to do the repair, I'm going to do everything I can in my power to repair this.
There you go. Okay.
Right? I mean, that's the honest answer.
Yeah.
And through that, then that newer technician is going to have to build that skill.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, that's the only way. It's on the job training.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
the bottom line.
Like,
I think one other avenue though that could help, and this is, this isn't rocket science.
Yeah.
But this could be kind of this could be a part of maybe the way that the industry looks at it and evolves, and we just kind of know it and understand it internally. You don't necessarily need to go to a franchise car dealer, and by franchise, I mean this big store with one of the big manufacturer's logos out front.
Right.
Why not start at a used car lot, a buy here, pay here? How about, a small body shop? How about a Mako? How about something that's not at the cutting edge, and say, here, I'm here and I'm ready to help and I'm looking for a shot.
Yeah.
And yes, whilst I am, and you can admit or choose not to, that technician's choice, admit, I'm new, I'm starting out, but I believe I can provide you with a service and a fair price, and it'll be a beneficial relationship both ways.
Yeah.
The technician gets the ability to work on cars and build the skill set. The dealership or the body shop gets somebody who's making an attempt, tries to do everything correctly, maybe isn't quite at the top dollar billing wise or earning wise, but it's fair and it's all in line, right?
Yeah. And so
it truly is in line.
Yeah. When I left working for Dent Pro in 2009, right? I graduated college. I was like, I'm going to go into the white collar world. I don't need to do this like whole dent fixing thing. Left, did some sales stuff, all that stuff. Anyways, hated that. I'm like, I need my blue collar life back. I want my freedom. I want to drive around and fix cars. Came back 2011 or 2012. And that's where I had to start. We had a couple franchise dealers from my dad running the business. And I went we have a road in Sacramento called Fulton Avenue. Right. And it's where all the non-franchise dealers are, essentially, where they all conglomerate, right? Jordan Motors and pick the other country, like Armani Motors and all these places, right? That's where I cut my teeth. And you're not going to fix a small dent there. They don't want the small dents fixed. Like, they're going to give you opportunities to fix really hard stuff for $80. And that's where you learn. That's how you make some money. That's how you learn. Yeah. That's how you get contacts. That's how you get better. So that maybe you can go into those franchise dealer accounts and say, put it in front of me, I'll fix it. Right. And then you can start playing with maybe it's like minor league and major league or whatever you want to call it. Right. Another thing that I say for new guys is like the ability that a new guy has that neither you and I have, Dave, is availability. Right. Like their ability is availability. Right. They can show up to the same place every single day of the week. I can't do that. Like I have cars to fix. Right. So
Yep.
So use what you have. If it's not a dent repair skill, that's okay. Use what you have to get your foot into the door and start going down that road, and just never be too, to be humble enough to go in and work on something that you're following on Facebook. You listen to the podcast. You're like, I'm supposed to get Mobile Tech RX price guide, right? It's not where you get to start. Right? You got to start in a different spot and work your way up to that. Is that fair to say?
That's a very fair statement.
Awesome.
And again, as I said, it's all in line. And what I meant by that was it's all in line. It's all relative, because, these lots are, they're going to be market driven, obviously supply and demand on their inventory, but they don't have the $100,000 Tesla on that lot. They're selling the $15,000 Corolla that may have a transmission issue, right? but
Maybe.
it needs to look decent, maybe, but it needs to look decent, but it's all in line. It's all relative that way in where you are in that kind of in scale
Skill set, yeah.
to, or in comparison to the big franchise dealer, or let's face it, the ultra luxurious exotic dealer too, right, on that far upper right of the corner of our spectrum here
In Scottsdale, Arizona, I'm
in
guessing.
Scottsdale. Right. Exactly.
So let's go back to that side of the world, because that's the world you and I mostly live in. I actually don't do a lot of premier dealers like Porsche, Tesla. I don't do a lot of those. I do like the Ford, Nissans, all that stuff. But anyways, what do you see changing in that world over the next couple of years? I know we've talked about this a little bit, even in Arizona, when we were together last year. What's going to change? What do we need to change as technicians in order to keep up with, the times of not drilling holes, EV cars, etc., like that? What do you see and what are you working on? Let's go down that path a little bit.
Well, technology is what's changing, right? I mean, these cars that we drive are nothing but computers and tires,
Yeah.
right? And a metal shell, right? I mean, that car records everything you do, every acceleration, the miles per hour you hit, your deceleration, how quickly you decelerated, did you use your blinker? It knows if you're turning right or left, because sometimes those headlights aim for you, right? These things are computers on wheels. That's the deal. It's technology that we have to contend with. Our repair process, I don't think, is going to change much. Again, like we just said, it was secret back then because we took a metal rod and we pushed the metal.
Still do it,
right? Our repair process is not going to deviate much in terms of the principle and the desired end result, right? Okay, yes, we've got heat induction and electromagnetic induction and electric induction machines to help us with the molecular level with metal and so on, but the process is not going to change much. But we, as an individual and a repairer, or as a repair community, need to change and adapt with the technology and the advancements that are coming out, because there are serious consequences if we don't, right? And I hate to say this, at some point it's a matter of time, I think, until the PDR industry gets an
example,
smack on the hand,
an
example is made of.
I don't disagree.
I hate to say that, and in doing that, back to my preparedness statement, in January of last year, I sat down with my insurance agent and said, let's reevaluate my liability policy.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's look at that. I want to be, and because I am now engaged with and working on Teslas and so on, am I covered? I could very quickly do a lot of damage, to a lot of high-end cars and exceed my current liability coverage at $1 million, right?
Yeah. And for those that don't know too, like, we're talking about take a door sensor off of Teslas. People assume they're, all EV and stuff, but take a door panel off of a new GMC Sierra and unplug it, unplug the mirror and everything, take door panel off to get down low on a door, right? And plug it back in. You were the last person to touch that. Maybe the sensor in the mirror, the what are those called? The lane sensor in the mirror was messed up before. Maybe it wasn't. Nobody knew. Not sure. Customer buys a car. 2 weeks later, lane sensor doesn't work, crash. Well, who's the last person to work on the car? Maybe it came to you, or was at your shop, right? Maybe you did it there, right? That's the kind of liability stuff that you're potentially talking about. And those are the kind of things that 10 years ago, didn't really have to worry about it. Pull a taillight out with a couple screws, undo the lights, put it back in. It's all analog stuff. It's just plug in, plug out. It's easy. Now it's getting more complicated. And I definitely see that changing. In the wholesale world on a mass scale, because, I work at a Ford dealer a lot too. The Mach-E's are coming out now. So that's going to be a thing. The new F-150s have sensors all over them, right? More and more and more. What do we need to do as an industry, as technicians now, to make sure that we, one, can save ourselves from liability, and two, maybe have a competitive advantage over other dent companies that aren't doing those things?
Without question. I agree with that 100%. And again, it's preparedness and it's opportunities that present themselves. And, you and I know a lot of guys that are going to cry poor, that think the sky is falling in this industry, right? We can see it on social media, et cetera. And I'm not perfect by any means, but what a great opportunity.
Yeah.
What a great opportunity to take this and twist it and spin it.
Yeah.
And use it to your advantage. And whether that means a subscription to all data, whether that means a conversation with your account to tell them you're raising prices and explain why, whether that is, whatever that looks like, there's going to be some things that are uncomfortable that need to be done, right? So that we're not made an example of, because then it'll be really uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I like to joke and tell the story. As far as I know, still, and I shouldn't. I'm not like. I don't know 100%, but I think this is accurate. I think Dave Schaulat and I are the only two IMI certified hybrid electric techs in Arizona.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean that somebody else hasn't gone on and done the iCar high voltage class, but it's a far cry, I think, from what's being offered either through Anson or from TDN as an example, because it's a much more in-depth and hands-on class.
Sure.
I'm not saying it doesn't take anything away from the body man that knows how to power down a car.
Right.
But some of these body shops have spent a huge amount of money on making sure that their people are trained and sending them to California to be Tesla certified and sending them over to the UK to be McLaren certified and things that I see and even if it just is a normal shop where they continue to build and go through their online classes with iCar and ASE, any other certifications, mechanical wise.
Yeah.
And so be it. But again, it's an opportunity to grow and learn and then exploit that skill. Whether you're the new guy and your ability is availability, or you're the veteran guy and your ability is professionalism and experience and accreditation.
Yeah.
It's there, right? It's yours for the taking. Right.
And to be full, I try to be as fully transparent as I can, because I never want people to think that I'm on the podcast preaching things and this and that. I am not IMI certified. I am not EV certified. I'm not certified at any of those things, because for now there's still a way around it, because how often I work on those cars is low, right? For now, but that's changing. 5 years from now, I'll be working on probably EV cars daily or weekly, right? So I need to change in that regard. But for now, I'll take it to my shop who's certified. They'll tear it down for me. I'll walk in and fix it, right? Because there's still a workaround on that. But what I'm saying, and this is something I need to change this year in our business and get certified so we can take that in. One, it's a value add. You get to charge for it to make it happen, right? And it shows your professionalism. The ability to work around that and go through a body shop or have the customer take the car to Tesla and they'll tear it down and power down and then I'll go fix it. That's okay for one-offs and it's okay for now, but 5 or 10 years from now, I think we need to change in order to be able to, because that avenue will go away, right? I can't, if I'm fixing 10 cars a week that are EV, I can't be like setting them all up at a different body shop, so just full transparency. I'm not that. Do you need that today? Maybe not. Do you need an iCar certification or a Vail or PDR Nation? Maybe not. But will you need it down the road? I agree with you, and you've already gone down the road to do that. I think you will, more and more so every day. What do you think?
I think so. And I can comment, on the European side.
Yeah.
If you want to do PDR for the insurance industry, meaning hail, there are some insurance carriers that require you to provide an IMI PDR certificate. And IMI, just so everybody knows, stands for the Institute of the Motor Industry. That's the governing body that's UK based, but is globally recognized. So I zoomed over, I can't remember when it was. I think it was August of 19, because I didn't do any travel last year. That 2020, let's just erase that, right? So it was 2019, and I did my PDR certification at TDN. And I just used it as a mileage grab because, I love to fly and travel anyway. So I jumped on an airplane and zoomed over and literally made it a weekend trip. I left on Thursday afternoon. We had nonstops back then from Phoenix to London. We don't today. They'll come back, of course.
Yeah, they'll come back,
But, so it was easy for me. I take the 315 out of here and you land in London the next morning at 7 a.m. I grabbed my rental car and stopped by the grocery store and got some fruit and some water, which is my little routine, and then drove up to TDN up in Peterborough and did my certification. And actually that day in particular, Kevin over at TDN had arranged to have one of the guys from IMI, I think Peter was his name, if I'm not mistaken.
That's cool.
To be there to see that TDN were doing everything properly when they perform the testing of the technicians,
Nice.
or not, when they provide the test, right? And so I went through and did the dent repair. You have to display that you know how to take a door panel off. You have to display and do everything in a particular order, because the intent is to build it as a system. And then if all of a sudden, if I had a heart attack in the middle of it, you could come in behind me and pick up, because
Exactly.
it's a systemized, structured process, right? And a lot of body shops do that with their parts caddies and the way that they have things labeled or put into bags. And the technicians who are good and are methodical, right? And they have a habit, and they make use of it. And they're the ones that reassemble and put things back together correctly. So same kind of thing, but then it's for the PDR in the cosmetic industry, where you're now certified and you have demonstrated your ability to perform at this kind of higher level, right? And so that's one thing going on in Europe that I think is amazing. But again, some of the European laws are different for filing a claim. The insurance companies don't just pay out to the vehicle owner. The money goes to the repair shop, not to the vehicle owner. So if you file a hail claim, you can't cash out the way you can here.
Interesting.
So it's a little different. It's a little different industry overall, right? With some things that are different, but so I'd love to see, and like you said, we may at some point need that veil certificate, or whatever that governing body ends up being, that has the authority, right?
Yeah, for sure. Totally agree. I think we're on the same page on that. And I think, professionalizing and certifying and making sure you can take care of all aspects of getting to the dent and fixing the dent is going to be more and more important as we go down the road. Another thing, the big part of this industry that I'm curious to ask you about is PDR shops. I think that is another way to professionalize, legitimize, et cetera. We have a shop, but we don't use it. We don't market it. It's not we do some jobs there. But it's not, people don't look at me and say, oh yeah, that guy's a PDR shop. And same thing with you. They know you're a mobile guy, route guy. What do you think about PDR shops? Do you think there'll be more and more of them? Do you think you'll ever get one? Do you think they're necessary? Or do you think we can do just as good in this industry being in our vans and trucks?
You want to know about PDR shops? Call Matt Moore.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's the
hands
truth.
down.
Yeah, sure.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. And I have an answer for this, because I've given thought to it. Yeah. I'm choosing currently, because I don't know what I want to do yet when I grow up.
Yeah.
I'm choosing not to have a shop right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to have the overhead. I have kind of established myself as a mobile service. My customers, meaning my dealership customers, my body shop customers, know I will go mobile to one of their customers' homes.
Yep.
I provide that service. They think it's amazing. They know I'm going to behave properly, and be an extension of the reputation of my customer, so to speak.
Sure.
I think the idea of a PDR shop is absolutely amazing. It's so untapped. And I think the industry is going to become PDR first, meaning the automotive repair, body repair industry is going to become a PDR first industry. And I say that because of the automation of vehicles. Back to my statement, these are computers on wheels, right? How many times, how these new cars, any of these 2020s, 2021s, you can't even put the car into drive without the door being closed.
Dude, I did that idea like last year or whatever. I was trying to back it up and just look out the driver door, and it's like, nope, not gonna happen, brother. Shut the door to drive.
I drive a 2016 Mercedes Metris work van.
Yeah.
If I'm driving and I open my door, the thing wants to jam into park. Certainly if I'm like less than 5 miles an hour, right?
It'll just like stop.
It just stops.
Yeah.
It throws itself into park, right? Yeah. The reason I'm saying this, look at these sensors, look at the calibration piece, the technology piece, the collision avoidance, the lane departure, the adaptive cruise control, the parking
self-driving,
the self-drive feature, right? Tempe, Arizona here was the center of self-drive for quite a while until that unfortunate accident, but it's still, I could still take you to the holding lot where all those vehicles are, right?
Yeah.
But that self-drive and that direction of automation in the car business is why I'm telling you it's going to be PDR first, because the satellites and the artificial intelligence are going to take over from maybe not your driveway and maybe not the street you live on, but the next street that you turn on, that's the main drag for your neighborhood to get you to your office or wherever you're going. that, Big Brother is going to take over your vehicle.
Yeah.
You're going to be like the pilot on an airplane. You're going to be in control of taxiing that thing out of the gate to the runway. That plane can take off on its own.
Yeah.
That plane can land on its own.
You got to press a couple buttons to make sure it does that, but it does it on its own.
The pilot's there if the computer goes, oh shit, I don't know what to do with all this data.
Yeah. That's it.
Human takeover.
Yeah.
The cars are going to become that, right? They already are.
Yeah.
And so
it's just not legal yet.
It's just not legal yet.
Yeah.
Your collisions, these heavy hits are going to go away. This is my prediction.
Yeah.
Therefore, PDR first is going to be the rule, because you're going to get the garbage can bump in the garage, right? You're going to get the bicycle falling on it. You're going to get the parking lot ding. It's going to be PDR first, because it's not going to be airbag deployment and catastrophe, because the collision avoidance is going to stop that. It's going to be a while completely, because there's still so many older cars that don't have that information.
And they can't
be retrofitted, right?
No.
But that's what I see happening. So is it smart to have a PDR shop? If you want to do that and make that commitment, absolutely. But then make that commitment and get in with your insurance agents, get in with the estimators, make sure they know what's capable in your market. Do dog and pony shows, put on a barbecue. Hey, stop by at Thursday at 5:30 for hot dogs and lemonade. Let me show you what PDR is actually capable of. Or, do an open house and kind of celebrate it and get that industry involvement. Invite the body shop customers, invite your dealership people. I understand the slave to the grind with the hours and the, in the retail car sales and body shop. Sure. You may not get everybody. You're going to need to do a few of those a year, but it's a tremendous way to gain traction. And then of course we have this great, marketing people in our industry that are willing to help and, create the online presence and the geotagging, geofencing for you. And, the relationship, the CRM things, the retention models, the penetration that just, the sky is the limit right now with a PDR shop.
Yeah. And if you don't understand what Dave's talking about with the CRM stuff and the automation and the geotags and all that stuff, then that is assigned to you to go learn those things, right? To become a more legitimate, professional, growing PDR business, because every legit business out there that's successful is doing email marketing, has a CRM program, which is a customer retention management program, is doing geotagging or fencing or, SEO marketing, all of those things, right? These are all things we need to at least have on our radar, so we understand whether to do it yourself or to hire somebody to do it, right? If you want to keep moving forward and pushing this industry as well as your business forward into like what the world is now and not what it was 10 years ago.
Again, another avenue for opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So yes, sure. I think the PDR, having a PDR shop's amazing. Yeah. Do I want it? I don't know. I got to tell you, I don't know, because I built this mobile piece, and while I think it would be amazing, I think I would have to, I would want to clone myself times 3, right? So that I knew I had somebody at the shop doing the way I would want it done. And I'm not trying to be a control freak.
Yeah.
But, Matt Moore has been brilliant at this, where he has a process, right? And he and his wife have put together manuals. So when a hail car comes in, this is what we do. 1, 2, 3. When a customer comes in with a side swipe, this is what we do. 1, 2, 3. When a customer comes with a shopping cart dent, 1, 2, 3. Every contingency is covered.
That way, when he hires somebody and says, "Here's what I need you to do. Here's your binder.
Here's your playbook.
This is how I do it. This is how you're going to do it."
Right. Yeah. It's the playbook, right? Just like you memorize your football plays in school, right?
Exactly.
So it's the playbook. And again, that's why I say I would clone myself and have one in the shop, and then have another one doing my mobile business, and then I could separate myself and begin to grow and concentrate on growing the shop, right?
Yep.
And do what's necessary. But that's why I say, and I'm still kind of reeling in the fact that I made the jump from corporate employee 6 years ago to being
still
my
settling
own
in
boss, and still I still am giddy, like, hey, I'm the boss.
Yeah, I do whatever I want.
I can make that purchase.
I can go to
take
IHOP
tomorrow off. I can go to IHOP, right? But I'm still giddy in that fact, right?
Yeah.
And still, and I'm growing without. I hate to say this. This is going to sound arrogant. I'm growing without trying, because I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
One of my dealerships has built two more franchise dealers on their property.
I love to say that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Don't know where I heard it. It's a quote from somebody.
Yeah.
Lucky you're prepared for this. You have the right contacts. You have the relationships. People trust you. You deliver every single day, etc. The opportunity came up and it worked for you. So we call it luck. It's really not luck, because if you hadn't done all those things you did, it wouldn't have been lucky, right?
True. Very true.
Yeah.
So, you know, this year
fantastic.
I'm growing without trying, you know, and it's
big.
It's hard. It's big, but it's hard for me to say it in the face of what's gone on over the last year.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been fortunate because I know people that have been shut down on the East Coast, right? Yeah. All of our colleagues on the East Coast, you know, places were closed. Automotive was closed.
I mean, I'm in California.
For
I feel
vast
it, dude.
periods of time. Shutdowns in California. You as well. Sorry.
God, we just,
I'm overlooking number one that I'm talking to.
Yeah, I'm a mobile guy, and you know, the shutdowns came, and I said, unless there's a cop standing at the end of my driveway, I'm going to go do what I have to do. You know, that's just what it came down to. And the dealers found a way to make it work, online sales, whatever. So, but there was actually, as far as dealers go, there was a lot worse off than California. I know California is like put up as this, just because we're California and we're like a, you know, 5th largest economy in the world or whatever. Like, we're put up as this thing. Dealers in other states had it way worse. I know New York and other places were like full on shutdown. Ontario, Canada, I have a client up there, full, like no one is selling a car, not online, not this. There's like one person going into the shop. It was like the GM / sales manager / now salesperson / internet manager, and everyone else is gone. So we didn't have it quite as bad, but yeah, I agree what you're saying. But to give you perspective on it, and you're saying that you're always giving back to the industry, right? And so for you to grow, right? I think as much as you give back into the industry and into what gave you the life that you have, you get back, right? And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I see that. I see as I give back to the industry, all of a sudden I'm getting lucky, right? All of a sudden I'm getting lucky, or like people call me that I don't know and want to sign up for my coaching, or people call me, you know, I get the opportunity to have Matt Moore call me and ask me questions, or other people call me and ask. I think that's lucky, but it's not, right? You give back, create those opportunities for you, and then all of a sudden it feels like luck. But you've put out a lot of effort. I mean, I know you have, like the things you talk about now, the preparedness thing, the fact that you're on Mobile Tech RX with the wholesale guide, you've been on all the podcasts, you've been helpful. And I think that comes back in other ways.
Oh, you're probably correct.
Yeah.
And that's where I was going with that. With, you know, I kind of, my notoriety with independence came because, you know, I had reached out to Vince D'Alessandro, who I knew years ago in Chicago. You know, and then he kind of, he's the one responsible to, you know, kind of put me out there on social media.
That's awesome.
You know, and now, and again, and matter of fact, I'm just going to say this. I know it's your podcast, but I'm going to say this. Vince and I had a conversation the other day, and he asked me about why we do what we do. And my simple answer, and what he meant by that was, why are there a number of us in the industry that are giving back? And I flat out answered him, it's a simple answer. It's not the notoriety, it's not the prestige, it's not the blah 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 whatever. It's just the right thing to do. You know, it's the right thing to do, and we were raised right, and now we're going to give back to the industry that's given us so much.
Right? Into that. Absolutely.
And that was kind of that was my quick and easy answer. I think Vince was waiting for some big philosophical
epiphany,
you know, 7-hour conversation. Yeah. I'm like, no, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I get it. I'm going to end on that, man. I think that's a good takeaway. Anything else before we go that you want to share? Anything new you got going on, want us to pay attention to, or anything before we pack it up and let you get back to fixing cars?
I have really nothing big going on at the moment. A lot of things are still kind of on hold. You know, there's not, and I don't individually, I don't personally have anything, you know, big. Dave Streen and Don Cavanaugh have invited me to do a little spot on their dream event.
Yes.
Which awesome. I think I'm going to take them up on their offer.
That's exciting. I'd love to hear from you.
Kiko has a few things going on. As you know, I do some of their training and so on. We were all in Oklahoma City about 3 weeks ago. 2 or 3 weeks ago, something like that. And they've got a few things that are coming that are going to be again good for the industry. And again, there's some people I think that are naysayers and maybe don't quite understand Chris White's model, or aren't completely immersed in what Kiko does besides just glue tabs.
Yeah.
And you know, Chris is
We could do a
slowly,
whole other podcast on that, man.
of course, but you know, with Kiko and Cam Auto and Spinisi and some of those, you know, other companies getting into the adhesive repair business, they're changing culture in the collision industry. But don't forget that morphed from PDR, plain and simple. That came from PDR, from us using glue tabs to fix roof rails for hail. Period. And that's an amazing caveat of our industry. Is now, you know, it's the vision of the company owners to go bigger. You know, bigger tabs, bigger pulling equipment, et cetera, to help the collision industry. But overall, that helps the repair industry because it's a cleaner repair.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, they're changing culture, right? Again,
why weld the what are the copper rod on there and pull it when you could stick a glue tab and pull it? Like, honestly, why
glue tab?
Yeah, why do that?
Not burn through the eco.
Not mess up the paint.
It's a better repair for the vehicle.
Period. Yeah,
right.
I agree.
It's change. Here's what we're going to end on. It's change. So get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, shoot, dude. That's sum up my podcast. Right? Sum up my life. That's awesome. If you ever feel like you want to talk to, like, you know, hundreds of dent guys in 1 hour and come talk about what's changing, or if Kiko allows you or anybody and you want to do that, I'm always open. We can even throw an additional podcast in on my normal week. So if you ever have anything big you want to announce, I have the ear of hundreds of people every single week and I'm always willing to have you on. So just so you know that. All right. We're going to end on that. I appreciate you coming on, and looking forward to seeing you in person again, hopefully in May. We shall see.
I will see you. I will be there in May.
I'll be there.
Barring any, you know, unforeseen circumstances of my family.
Or that.
The government might not stop me.
I love it. I love it.
I am booked. I will be there in May.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Thanks, Corey.
See ya.